Hey folks, it's Matt Rainwater here, and today I was going to start off our little session here with doing something special. This picture is the most important picture in the world, at least to me. Um, I've been watching Ghost in the Shell lately because I realized I haven't actually watched all of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. I've pretty much watched I've watched both of the well, I've watched, let's see, there's the two main movies that Mamoru Oshii directed. I can't, is it Mamoru or Mamoru? I think it's Mamoru. Anyway, Oshii, the two movies that Oshii directed, and I've seen some of the series for standalone complex, but I'm realizing that I haven't seen it all. And I read the two manga that Shiro Masamune made, like years ago. So this panel, by the way, this drawing, this is like one of my favorite drawings, and it's of the character Ishikawa from Ghost in the Shell. And Ishikawa is like very much this background character who sometimes does important things, but for the most part, he's just kind of there. And his main thing is that he seems to do a lot of like research for the team of Section 9, who are the main characters in the story of Ghost in the Shell. And anyway, I have this. I just wanted to show you all this drawing because I think about it often. And the reason I think about it is Ghost in the Shell is this long running, well, I mean, in different iterations, it's long running. This long running story. And it has a lot of gravitas heaped up onto it. And I think for the most part that gravitas is largely deserved. It's a really cool story. There's a lot of really high concept stuff that happens in the story of Ghost in the Shell. And I find that to be the main pull of it for me. I like a lot of the cyberpunk elements that come into the story and the way that they work together in this idea of a crime, like a cyber crimes division of the government. And to be really honest, though, if you really look at the story, it's basically CSI Tokyo 2034. But it works. It works really well. And watching Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, I'm seeing another iteration of it that I'm really enjoying. But anyway, my point is like, despite all the gravitas that Ghost in the Shell has heaped up onto it over all these years, this drawing will always exist, and it's in the most formative and important aspect of the Ghost in the Shell story, which is the very first manga that Shiro Masamune made. And so I just wanted to show you all this drawing, and I'm kind of just coloring it right now just for the heck of it, just for a little bit of fun. See what that would look like. Fairly simple, by the way. All I did was set this top layer where the line art is to multiply, and I made a layer underneath that that's just an empty layer that I'm applying all the watercolor to. And I just picked like a brush in Clip Studio. This is Painterly Watercolor Wash. That's the brush that I'm using, and it works pretty well. Don't have to do a whole lot here to make an impact, like so. And if I really wanted to add, I don't know, like, I'm gonna darken this background a little bit. I guess if I really wanted to, see, does that work? I don't know. I don't know if that works. Maybe I would do like this. Like so. So yeah, I've been watching Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. A show that my friends watched, and I would watch some episodes here and there. And for the longest time, I was under the impression that somehow I had watched all the series as well. And then I realized one day, this last week, that I hadn't. I really hadn't. I had not watched all of Ghost in the Shell. I had hardly watched any, uh, to my surprise, to my own shock and alarm. And so I decided I was going to rectify that. And I've been watching it, and some initial thoughts I can tell you right now is that Ghost in the Shell as a series, or let's say specifically Standalone Complex as a series. Standalone Complex, the thing that I like about it and the thing that drew me to it originally, other than the amazing soundtrack by Yoko Kanno, the thing that drew me to it originally was that one of its main gimmicks is that it's a show that combines two things. Cyberpunk, which is cool to me. I like it. I like it from the perspective of getting an idea of what the future could be like, which more and more it seems like we're sort of heading headfirst into a future where the human mind and technology merge in weird and wild ways. It's one of the main things that Ghost in the Shell talks about, and that's one of the main premises in Ghost in the Shell. Okay, I'm done coloring this. I'm going to move on to what I was actually going to do and show you all a little bit of, which is I'm going to be flatting a page from Trailer Park Warlock. But I want to finish what I was going to say, and I'll talk about that here. What was I saying? So the other thing that it does that I really enjoy is that Ghost in the Shell is a story told in a format that I feel like is often more unique to... Well, it's not entirely unique to anime. There's definitely... I feel like I've seen this technique used more and more in American television in the last not 2 years, like in the last decade or so. And my guess is that there are people who have been watching some amount of anime, or I don't know what other shows had done that format previously. But let me say what that specifically is. So the format being, in Ghost in the Shell, there are episodes that are called standalone episodes, which are episodes that... Oh, I'm having so many thoughts now. Anyway, episodes that are self-contained and don't have to do with any larger picture necessarily. And then they have episodes that intermingle, that are continuing narratives, specifically stuff having to do with the Laughing Man case. Those episodes all, to be continued type episodes. So I just had this thought while I was talking about this. Another show that did this that I really enjoy is Star Trek. Specifically, Star Trek Deep Space Nine did that. There were a lot of episodes that were standalone episodes, although managed to also incorporate elements of the standalone episodes into a greater narrative. And I really enjoy shows like that. I like having, for me, for whatever reason, I like having the flexibility of being able to get into a story, but also not feel like I have to watch every single episode immediately. So like Ghost in the Shell, I figured out I liked Ghost in the Shell without even having to watch all of Ghost in the Shell. I had watched a lot of, self-contained episodes, a lot of standalone episodes, got me into the characters, it got me into the narrative. A lot of those, sometimes the standalone episodes cover really high concept premises. Sometimes those episodes are just like, we're setting this up for a cool action scene, and that's what the majority of the episode is about. It's just about Section 9 kicking ass and solving a crime, basically. And then sometimes it's an episode that covers like some heavy aspect of the idea of, if you can upload your consciousness to a computer or machine, here are some of the consequences of what life would be like. I mean, that's every episode. Literally every episode is that. But some episodes make that the heavy focus, and then other episodes are more, let's set up some cool, sophisticated action scene. So there's a lot of variety in how the story can be told, and when doing that also, there's a certain amount of flexibility to what can happen in a given episode. Whereas if you have like a definitive point A to point B type continuity, it does root you a little bit in what you can do from episode to episode. Now, for y'all who are reading Trailer Park Warlock, there's been a certain aspect of this, and I've been thinking about this a lot because, so basically the first season of Trailer Park Warlock, there was only one continuity, like one really point A to point B to point C continuity focused storyline, and that was the storyline featuring Buddy, the golem that Jake made out of the kid Nate's clay statue. And that things went awry, the world almost ended, and there were some consequences, right? And beyond that initial storyline with Buddy, the only other continuing aspect in season 1 was that the moon had been messed up, had been, partially blown apart. And that ended up getting resolved at the end of season 1, as y'all know. So the second season, I started with 2 major standalone stories. The first one being Darla and the Backroads, where Darla goes to the Backroads, and there's a lot of weird, trippy stuff that happens. And that episode had a point, and the main point was revealing, what Darla is capable of as a character, what's up with that sigil that she was using when she was abducted by aliens that weren't really aliens, and also to just have like a very singularly focused episode on Darla. So, the other standalone episode in season 2 so far has been Jake in the Breaker Box of Set. The only thing about that, it is standalone in the sense that you could read that story and you would never have to read the rest of Trailer Park Warlock to be able to enjoy that story. However, it does figure in to long-term story in Trailer Park Warlock, as y'all will soon find out. Although it won't be that soon. They're going to be, I would say the consequences of what happened in that story will continue on in the background of season 2 and in parts of the background of season 3, and I think season 4 is when it will come to the foreground. Everything having to do with Set and what that means for the world in Trailer Park Warlock. So why was I talking about all this? Oh, so the main reason I was talking about all this is that I wanted to touch upon the kind of stuff that inspires me in writing and how I implement that into my own stories, into my own creativity. I really like to find, I will use whatever interests me that I see in other art that I enjoy, and I'll implement that stuff in some way in the stories that I make, and then make my own sort of variants or iterations, or implement my own ideas concerning that. And my whole point that I'm getting to is that the way that a story is told, like, I can definitely trace almost genealogically saying, like, the way that I'm structuring the story in Trailer Park Warlock was largely inspired by anime like Ghost in the Shell, Cowboy Bebop, shows that I watched that implemented that sort of flexible narrative where it's not crucial that you read the whole narrative, but being able to do so enhances your experience of the narrative. Does that make sense? I hope so. I think that's all I have to say on that topic. I keep going back to this, I don't know. There's too much blush. There's too much blush on, like, Ishikawa's face. That's what I feel like is going on. It's just, like, it needs to be toned down. That's better. Okay, anyway. Back to what we were doing. So yeah, what I've been doing right now, I'm flatting this page of Trailer Park Warlock. This is from episode... Is this 36? Or is this 37? I'm losing count as I'm getting more and more into the rhythm of creating the story. I believe this is episode 36. We'll just say it's episode 36 for right now. And essentially I'm doing the exact same thing about the exact same thing in terms of setting up the page as I did on that painting of Ishikawa. I have a line art layer that's set above a layer where I put down the flats. And in Clip Studio has this really cool tool, the paint bucket tool, that has a setting. Let me find it real quick. Where is it? Okay. So in Clip Studio, when you have the paint bucket tool selected, you select the paint bucket tool that says Refer Other Layers. And then you go down to all the little properties for the tool. you find multiple referring, and you click on this little symbol that says reference layer. It has like it looks like, to me it looks like like a zip on a zipper. The little, I don't know what you call that. I just call it the zip. And you click that, and then you go over to your line art layer, and you'll see that there's that zip thing up top on the properties toolbar for your layers. It's sitting right between the lock and clip that layer below. So here it is, set as reference layer. So I set the line art as the reference layer, and I go to the layer underneath the reference layer, and that's where I fill. That's where I fill my flats. This makes flatting extremely fast. It used to be when flatting, like, I remember the first way that I was taught how to flat is you get the lasso tool, and you go in and you make sure the lasso is underneath the line art that you want to flat in, and do this and this and this, and you get the paint bucket tool, and you fill in like that. Well, thank the Lord, we don't have to do that anymore. Clip Studio and the wonderful people at Clip Studio designed this beautiful paint bucket tool that makes it no longer a thing that you have to do. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of tea here. All right. Did I do all the... Oh, no. So what I'll do when I'm flatting is I'll just pick a color, fill in all the instances for that color on the page, move on to the next color, rinse, repeat. It's a bit tedious. The speed at which this fill bucket tool works in Clip Studio makes it more bearable. Usually when I'm doing this, when I'm flatting, I'm like listening to a podcast or watching a TV show in the background. Doing something to sort of keep my mind busy, because this is the kind of activity that I can basically do, well, not with my eyes closed, not yet. But it's an activity that I can do with relatively minimal attention. And there are people who, one of their main modes of making money is to flat for other comic artists. I have done that in the past, and I'm glad that it is not something that I feel like I need to do anymore. Now I'm in a position where I want to hire a flatter at some point in my life. Currently, I can't really afford it, so I'm not doing that. But at some point, when I start making enough money from doing the trailer Park Warlock and anything else that I happen to be making money from, I am going to hire a flatter. It would save me a day's worth of work, and that would be great. I think another person that I would like to have is a letterer. I think. I'm kind of on the fence about that, quite honestly, with the letterer. But I've been thinking a lot about what if I had assistants to help me make this comic. The main thing would be having a flatter, and then after that, either a letterer. Like maybe one day I would have a colorist. Like but I still feel a certain amount of attachment to doing like the rendering, the color rendering myself. I don't entirely know why, but maybe it's just because I've been doing it for so long, and so I just feel attached to the activity. Maybe one day I'm gonna be so tired of coloring though, I'm just gonna be like, look, somebody else do this. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Getting close to done with this page. At least I think. Seems like it. Ishikawa. What else is going on that I feel like is worth talking about with y'all? Other than Ishikawa and Ghost in the Shell. I feel like I just want to talk about Ghost in the Shell some more. Well, here's one thing I would definitely like to talk about is the music in Ghost in the Shell. The soundtrack for Ghost in the Shell is amazing, in the sense that I could listen to the. I mean, I do listen. That's actually how I got into wanting to watch Ghost in the Shell. Is I start listening to the soundtrack again. And the soundtrack to Ghost in the Shell stands on its own, regardless of being attached to any kind of show. Like if somebody had like given me that album to listen to and I had no idea what Ghost in the Shell was, I would be totally glued into it because it's really fantastic music. The composer for that soundtrack, Yoko Kanno, has done so many shows, and all the shows she usually attaches herself to tend to be pretty good shows too. And I wonder if her soundtracks have something to do with that, or is it the other way around? I don't know. Although I have never seen Wolf's Rain. I really like the soundtrack to Wolf's Rain, and I've never seen Wolf's Rain. I've heard some people really enjoy it, and then it's kind of in the middle in terms of people's perceptions of it. It seems like it's kind of meh for a lot of people. But I don't know. I'll have to watch it someday. I just haven't done that yet. I got into a new J-rock band, and by J-rock I mean it's like Japanese rock, called Mass of the Fermenting Dregs. Now you would think with a title with a band name like that they might be like death metal or something, but it's pretty straight up like very punk or garage rock type aesthetic. Female vocalist. I actually don't know what the band. I don't know the full composition of the band. I've never seen any videos or anything with them. But I'm gonna be listening to them a lot. It's some really pulse pounding, like gets me energized, rip raring to go kind of music. The sound does not actually remind me in terms of literal aesthetics, but in terms of the feeling I get from listening to it. Reminds me a lot of when I first started listening to The Pillows as a kid in high school, when Fully Cooley came out. A lot of my musical tastes are very much relate it to anime, and as I'm sure you're figuring out here, um, but it is really fantastic music, and I highly recommend checking out that band if you get a chance. They're called Mass of the Fermenting Dregs, and it is not, their music is not as dour as the name suggests. It is a very curious name. I mean, granted, I don't know what the lyrics are like. I don't know the actual lyrics to their songs because I don't know Japanese very well. But in terms of melody, rhythm, all the major aspects of music outside of lyrics, it's pretty incredible. Just coloring in these ribs that this panther is eating. Hope y'all are enjoying Trailer Park Warlock as it is right now. There's a lot of stuff coming up down the pipeline. I'm excited about it. Really excited about where the story is going, because it's going to places I did not initially expect it to go, and because I am allowing myself to engage in an organic style of writing, this story has found some unique places and some unique possibilities that I did not intentionally go into. And I know, like, I don't know, there are a lot of people who feel leery about that kind of storytelling where it's like, oh, the author doesn't even know where he's going. Like, how are we supposed to know this is going to be any good? But I find that those kinds of stories tend to make for like a really good page turner type story, because in a lot of ways the author themselves doesn't even know where they're going in the story. So the author is also like faced with major surprises within the course of creating the story. And I'm definitely having a certain amount of that. And it definitely comes with some difficulties. I have found myself a couple times now where I'm like, where the heck am I going to go in this story? I don't even know. How am I going to make all this stuff work together? Every week I am like, oh, surely now I have set myself up set myself up in a corner. I can't get out of this one. This is it. And then I figure something out that allows the story to do things I didn't expect. Take myself to place. Take all of us, I guess. Take Jake and the gang to places they didn't expect. Take y'all to places you didn't expect. To me, that's fun. That's really fun, and I really get a kick out of writing in this way. And here's to many, many more episodes like that. Oops. Oh, it's got this tiger done. This tiger is very involved in terms of flatting. It's a lot of stuff I gotta do for her. Where's she? The nose? Oh, okay. Oops. What else do I have going on down the pipeline besides Trailer Park Warlock? Well, right now, not a whole lot. I am working on Bat Monster as usual. Getting to a point where I'm about to finish it up as soon as I can. I'm ready to be done with that, and I want to do that because I want to focus on illustration work. And the reason I want to work on illustration work is that I want to make some stuff. I want to make some prints for conventions. I want to really focus on finishing this Trailer Park Warlock Tarot deck. Like I've said before, I finished the Major Arcana, but I still have the Minor Arcana to do. But I do want to package together the Major Arcana at the very least and start getting it out there. And I just haven't had the energy yet to really focus on solving all the problems that go into that. I may have talked about this, maybe I haven't, but one of the main things that I've been considering lately is setting up a Patreon. The purple doesn't work. Setting up a Patreon to mail people cards like once a month or once every other month, something like that, as opposed to doing a Kickstarter. I am very curious what y'all think would work better. I'm very curious as to y'all, your opinion on this. I really need to start asking people on social media who follow me, because there's been a lot of people sort of citing interest in buying the tarot deck. I don't have my stuff together right now to really invest serious time and brain power into it. And that's just a matter of me finding the time. I've been mostly spending a lot of my extra time organizing my Patreon. I opened a Ko-fi. Is it Ko-fi or Coffee? Ko-fi profile. And that is kofi.com/MattJRainwater. I'll be promoting it in the future here and on my social media and wherever else. So I've been doing all these little things that are important things for my own, for setting up my potential for gathering resources as an artist. That's been my main focus the last couple of weeks. It's difficult not to be a little bit. I'm not even going to talk about that. That's not even worth saying. My point being, that's what I've been working on. Trying to get my financial apparatuses going. All right, let's see. We're almost. Nope, that looks too much. The color's too much like the lion's mane. But I do want a red color. I may have to go for the pinker color. It's not. Do not prefer that. I could go more purplish. That's too much. Okay, that might work. All right. So yeah, that's what's been going on for me. almost about to be done here, y'all. I'm just gonna come on. Maybe it just needs to be the same color. That's okay. Cool. I hope that whatever's going on in your life, that's going pretty good. Whatever you're working on, doing, whatever your goals and aspirations are, you're not having too many obstacles, too much trouble. I want to thank y'all for contributing to my Patreon. I want to thank y'all for sitting down, listening to what I have to say, hanging out. And I hope that you're having a great week. And I will talk to y'all later. All right. Bye.